But overnight, Ghana hit pause. The citizenship process for historical diasporans have been temporarily suspended. And the reason why it is sparking global debate: was the system rushed? Were expectations unrealistic? Or did the diaspora finally force change?
All right. Welcome to this week, actually, Pan-African Perspectives, your weekly live stream where we talk about all things Africa related. There's been a lot of news over the last 4 or 5 days around citizenship in Ghana. Who was it for? What were the missteps? What happened? It has been paused. So we're going to talk about everything. We're going to take you through everything we know right now. As you know, I'm Joe Hatagwa. If you don't know, now you do. I am a Sierra Leonean American who has, and also a Ghanaian resident. I spent the last 10 years of my life traveling around, investing, and at some point living on the continent of Africa. I lived in Ghana for a little over 2 years, and I lived in Sierra Leone for a little over a year. I've worked on the continent, I've invested in land on the continent, and now I help others do the same thing. I've also traveled to many parts of the continent as well. And so all of those things is what I help those of you who are watching do and to learn more about. Today, we are talking about how Ghana suspended the diaspora citizenship. There was a $2,400 fee, which had sparked some outrage. The specifics around having to have Ghanaian ancestry and all the other things that went along with it caused a lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of thoughts. There were letters written, there were forums had, there were live streams done. This weekend was full of a lot of debate and conversation around this topic. So we're gonna cover it all. So you guys are all very clear on what's been going on. Shout out to Made in Africa, AKA or Made of Africa, aka Manelik is in the building, coming in loud and clear. Glad to hear it. Got that microphone working, so that's good to know. And then, of course, Lenora's in the building. Shout out to Lenora, who is doing some interesting things in Ghana. So yeah, a lot to digest here in terms of what happened. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background as to what is going on, because for some people they might just be jumping into this and not even be clear what's actually even happening, right? Like what am I even talking about? So let me take you back to just 4 days ago. If I believe it was on this past Thursday or Friday. Let me just give you a quick breakdown of how things went. So let's see, the Office of Diaspora Affairs and KOD, who is running the Office of Diaspora Affairs, made an amazing and very important announcement last week. And that announcement was around the fact that there was a new citizenship program. I had heard a lot about a potential citizenship program this last week. And this last trip that I was there, and it was something that I was really excited about. Previously there had been these lists of people whose names got put on these lists to get involved in the citizenship program, and I was one of those people, and I thought it was really interesting. So the announcement was made. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by playing the announcement video. I was originally going to show you on Instagram when he posted the announcement, but I think he's taken it down since citizenship has been suspended. But KLD was very quick to make sure that people were aware that this is actually real. I got a message in a group that I'm in that explicitly called out what was required to be considered for citizenship. And so maybe I should start with that, actually. Before I get into the video, maybe I should give you a little bit of background on what was said at that time. So I'm in a couple of different groups that are based in Ghana. There's a couple of different, once you go to Ghana or you're planning to go to Ghana, as we always say, make sure you get involved in these WhatsApp groups, because that's where the information is shared first and often. And there was a lot of information shared. So let me just get to some of the messages that I got. So I got a message, I think it was, Thursday of last week, that basically said the following. All you need to know about Ghana's upcoming historic diaspora citizenship exercise. And you know what? Let me share it with you guys so you can see it on screen. So I'm not just reading for you guys, so you guys can get a chance to read along with me. Let's do that, right? That's probably the best thing to do, is to put it on screen. So let me put it on screen for you guys to see it. Let me see. Let me present. Let me see. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Share screen. I don't know if that's easy to see. It might be difficult to see. So let me make this 200%. So as you can see here, it says, all you need to know about Ghana's upcoming historic diaspora citizenship exercise in February. So, dear Ghanaian citizenship applicants, on behalf of the Ministry of Interior, the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President is pleased to announce requirements for obtaining Ghanaian citizenship by historic diasporans. Below, information regarding eligibility, required documentation, fees, and an overview of the application process. Please read carefully to ensure you meet the eligibility criteria and properly prepare the necessary documents in advance, as fees are non-refundable. Eligibility. Only applicants over 18 years of age are eligible to apply for citizenship. So this was the list of documents and fees. 2,500 Ghana cedis is about $2,400. And then that's an application fee. And then there's an administration processing fee of, this is GHC, not G. It looks like GHS. It's not a dollar amount. This is Ghana cedis, 1,500. So that's like $150 plus 2,400. And so together, that is about $2,500 for the fees. That was one of the things that was a point of contention that some people had. The process overview was as follows. You were supposed to submit the listed criteria of documents, which is all here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you see it all there. But the one thing that was also a point of contention was this here. This seemed to be a strong point of contention for people, because not everybody can prove by DNA that they are of Ghanaian descent. And that was not previously a requirement under the previous administration. So that seemed to be a point of content for some folks. And then some folks also felt like the application fee here was also a challenge price-wise, right? So people had some challenges with the, basically, 25,000 Ghana cedis is about $2,400. And then, this is like $140. 1,500 Ghana cedis is like $140. So like I said, all in all, it was about, $2,600, right? People just felt like that might've been a little too steep for them. And then the other challenge was the Ghanaian descent. Shortlisted applicants will be notified by phone to pay the application fee. So the good thing is you don't pay the application fee of the $2,000 unless you've been shortlisted. The administrative fee is paid no matter what, but it was supposed to be paid starting today through February 6th, 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Diaspora Affairs Office will email invitations to citizenship induction ceremony, specific details of the Ghana citizenship induction ceremony, which was scheduled originally for March 5th, 2026. So any of you, if you heard me say I was planning to be in Ghana in March, you understand why. So if you heard me say that, that was why I was saying I was planning to be in Ghana in March. I had some advance notification that was a possibility. I was not 100% sure, but I was given on good information that was a possibility. So now that we've gone over the overall status of what was supposed to happen, I also want to play the video because I think it's important, right, to hear from KOD himself, you know, as he walked through this process. So let's play some of this video, and then we'll have some more details on the other side. And then I'll get to some of the comments too. I know there's a lot of comments, but people are just joining. So again, we're talking about the citizenship program in Ghana that was just put on pause. We're going to play this video that came out last week, and then we will talk about it. So let's go.
Ghanaian citizen applicants, on behalf of the Ministry of the Interior, the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President is pleased to announce that the requirements for obtaining Ghanaian citizenship by historic diasporans have now been finalized. Here's an outline of the necessary documents and steps for the application process. You're required to be 18 years and above to support your Ghanaian descent. Citizenship application fee of 25,000 Ghana cedis. And this is an overview. Submission of listed criteria documents and payment of 1,500 Ghana cedis, that's administrative fee by interested applicants, to the designated administrative center at the World Trade Center. That's on the second.
And to be clear, that World Trade Center is the World Trade Center in Accra, Ghana, not the United States former, you know, Ground Zero World Trade Center. I think some people got that confused. World Trade Center, they do have a World Trade Center in Accra, Ghana. It's called the World Trade Center. So that would be where this would have to have been submitted.
And between the 2nd and 6th of February, between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Do note it's the World Trade Center in Accra and not the Ministry of the Interior. Notification of shortlisted applicants would have to complete and submit application forms online. There's also the payment of citizenship application fee of 25,000 cedis and complete vetting. Citizenship orientation process with Diaspora Affairs upon approval of citizenship before induction ceremony on the 5th of March.
So this was very different and very clear from what happened the last time, from my understanding. I missed out on that process. So when I saw this, I was excited. I was like, all right. The only thing though, and everybody asked me, do you have Ghanaian heritage? I don't know. I've never actually done a DNA test because fortunately, I know at least one generation ago was in Sierra Leone. And then I also know the generation before that is Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Sierra Leone. So I do know, like, in terms of the 4 grandparents, right? I do know their direct lineage. And so going back even another generation, I have a little bit of insight into that. So for the most part, I was just like, okay, I know that those places. So I never gone and done a DNA test. But for many folks, they have. And this would exclude all of those who did not have Ghanaian citizenship. And I think that was one of the main concerns. Now, before I get into the concerns and the weekend, the eventful weekend, I do want to get through some of the comments that people have put into the group chat here. So Michael Simpson says, I knew this was about to happen. He also says, hating on the African-American speed, but they didn't do this for the Chinese. Not sure I understand what that means, but obviously, as you guys might remember, last week we discussed that, or last Thursday, I discussed on This Week in Africa that I Show Speed, the young man who just turned 21 on his Africa tour, 20 countries in 28 days, it was mentioned that he was going to be extended and granted citizenship in Ghana. So completely separate from this, there's some dispute and debate whether or not his maternal side is actually from Ghana. You know, that's for you guys to determine and decide if you guys want to do a deep dive into his lineage. But in any case, there was a very explosive discussion by a news broadcaster in Ghana who later apologized, from what I understand. But we reviewed that and we discussed it at length. If you guys want to see more about that, you can go back and watch that live stream from last Thursday. As an African-American, I can't disagree. As an FBA group doesn't need to be in Africa. I can't, I should not have read that out loud. I don't want, okay, so I want to be very clear. I do not want to have more divisiveness on this platform amongst the different silos that make up our collective group. So it happens a lot in the comments. I do see it. I generally don't engage with it, but I want to be very clear. We don't like when people attribute statements to just being Black. So we should not attribute certain rhetoric from certain people within certain groups as a belief system for all in that group, especially when these groups are still disparate and growing and determining who they are and understanding who they are. And there aren't necessarily organizations with doctrines and leaders necessarily and things like that. There are people who are most outspoken within certain groups, but I would say I don't want to attribute the thought process of a few to a larger group. I do want to say that. I also want to say that if you believe that we should be advancing as a group, whether you identify as ADOS, FBA, Pan-African, Black American, African American, African, Caribbean American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latina. I mean, there are so many subgroups. However you identify, if we all agree that we should be advancing as a group, I don't think it should matter how you identify as long as we're all on that same accord. Now, those who look to tear us down, whether it's one or two individuals within that group or outside of it, I can understand criticizing those individuals, but let's be clear not to criticize an entire group, at least not here. That's not what we'll be doing here. So I do just want to mention that because I don't believe in that. And I want to curate a group of people who don't believe in that. You can discuss what you want without putting down someone who disagrees with what you want, right? So that's why we only ever focus on forward, not left, not right. Like Kwame Nkrumah always said, forward always, backwards never. Forward ever, backwards never. Sorry, forgive me for misquoting Kwame Nkrumah. People are going to kill me in the comments, but you guys know, what he said. So one of the other things is Brandy. So Lord of Slaughter says, I want people to be properly vetted before entry. That's something that'll definitely be done. CMB Ocean View says, thank you. You're welcome. I don't know if you heard a fire alarm. That's possible. Carrie Marshall says, all I have is 6% Ghanaian. By the way, the documents would have to be turned in person to the World Trade Center. And they did say you will need to be in country, but they gave a date, right? And so if that date was to be the date, then people would have been able to come in and do what they need to do. But I think the reason why it was such a short time frame is because the last time something like this happened, there were a number of folks complaining that there were people who were able to get citizenship who had never even been to Ghana before. I had a conversation with two different people that got citizenship on their first trip to Ghana. Now, some people will say you shouldn't have to be in a country to get citizenship there. And that's debatable, right? But if you look at the general rules for getting citizenship in Ghana, many times it does require having been there. Oh, and one of the other things in this requirements that was there was that you would need to have a 2-year residency permit. So you would have to, you would have to have proof of legal residence of 2 years. That was one of the other things that was a point of contention for some folks, because many folks have been there for a year, or like for me, I had been renewing my my non-citizen ID card, my residency card, yearly. I did it twice, and now the next one I'm just gonna extend it for 5 years, because you can do 5 years and 3 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't know when I went and was doing it yearly that it could be extended for more time. It wasn't until I had already done all the paperwork and I only had that day to do it. So I just extended it for 1 year, and I just said, okay, this year, 2026, I'll just go back and I'll extend it for more time, because it's an easy process once you already have the card. You just pay the money, you extend it for longer. Autumn Love says, link please. Well, there isn't a link right now. There is, I'll share the letter though. There was a letter shared. So I can definitely share that with you all in just a moment. to the pausing. But yeah, so I do want to mention that. Okay, let me get through some more comments and then I'll get back to it. So some people are saying too many people. Shout out to the red, black, and green. Exactly, united we stand. So you guys agree with me, or some of you do at least. Lamarck is asking if I can give a recap of the new requirements. Mark, since this is live, what you can do is actually you can take the cursor and just drag it back to the beginning, wherever you're watching this on, and you'll be able to have me go through all of it. I don't want to do it again for everybody who has been here the whole time and go back through everything. But you can actually, because this is live, you can actually go back to earlier in the live stream from wherever you're watching. So you should be able to do that, and then you'll be able to get that full update. Okay, Afua says, I've just joined, but will follow. Okay, so let's get to the backlash, right? So as I mentioned, as I was going through the requirements, proof of legal residence, 2-year residence permit. Some people took issue with that. That was one. So another thing that people took issue, well, you know what? Let me just put it back on the screen. So that'll help those who were just joining, who wanted to see what was required, and then I can just go back over where there were challenges. So the proof of legal residence was one point of contention that I heard this weekend. So I would say I was invited to 2 or 3 different forums and discussions that were happening. I heard one person mention that they could potentially sue the countries of Africa or the African Union for trading our certain ancestors. There are people talking about the fact that this was not done with any real consideration for those who have been, whose ancestors were victimized by the transatlantic slave trade, and how, putting these restrictions in place really does not allow for those people to really get the benefit of the citizenship. And so these were some of the things that came up as an issue. Because obviously a completed application form, a birth certificate, biodata page of a valid passport, police clearance. Obviously, everybody should have a police clearance from the country of origin, before, entry and citizenship somewhere else. It just makes sense. Evidence of strong ties to Ghana. This is a tough one, right? How do you communicate this? And this was something I was thinking about for myself, but I figured, because I do a live stream about Ghana every other week. I've been to Ghana, I don't know, as many times as I've been there, I can't even tell you the number. And I lived in Ghana. I felt like, and I've paid rent. I've strong ties in Ghana. But proof of legal residence, 2-year residence permits, right? So that was one piece that I mentioned people had challenges with. The other one was the proof of DNA, right? So even folks who had the finances, these two did come up as challenges that people had, because they felt like these were additional barriers. And because the last administration, within 3 months, 800 people got citizenship, their barriers weren't as high as what we're seeing with this, what we were seeing with this current administration. And some people took issue with that. I did not take issue with it myself, because I do believe everybody can do things based on what they want. I think the one thing that I knew that was going to be a challenge for some, though, was the proof of DNA and Ghanaian descent. I knew that was going to be a challenge, because although many, and they say Ghana had the most slave castles, 75 or so, many of those taken during the transatlantic slave trade did come through Ghana. Not all of them were from Ghana, right? And so many people felt like that would exclude them, especially those who've already done their DNA test. I have yet to do it, as I mentioned, so I don't even know if I would have been precluded from this, or excluded. I don't even know which word to use there. Application fee and then the application fees were the other issue. So I joined and I watched the replay of one of such discussions, and I saw some of the letters. So let me share a letter. Let me share. I'll share a letter, and then I will share some the information around like some of the events that I saw. So this draft resolution, people were upset. I will tell you guys, people were very upset. I must tell you, I saw a lot of strong language used. A lot of folks just really saying that they felt as if this was exclusionary. You know, it was the first time I'd really seen large groups of people being, you know, coming together and putting together different discussions around the citizenship ceremony. Previously, it seemed like there wasn't as much pushback because I think the barrier to entry was a little bit lower. I think with this one, because there were some barriers, people seem to be very, very upset. And so I'm actually looking for the group that I'm in where some of those messages were sent so I can share the letters. Okay, well, I could just share a draft letter because I can't seem to find the letter that I wanted to originally share. So this draft resolution, and a lot of different people were invited to sign it. But this is one of the letters. Well, there's a couple letters. So let me share. This was a draft letter that I saw. I'll share. Let me see. Not that. Let me stop sharing that. Give me 1 second, guys, because the way this system works, it doesn't make it easy to pull this stuff up. Okay, here we go. This is the draft letter. So it's probably going to be hard for you guys to see. I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. But okay, so this is one of the draft letters that I saw that went out. And so when your hand is inside, they do not eat and leave you out. The preamble, the Universal Pan-African Diaspora Coalition of Ghana, pursuant of article blah, 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 held a duty call emergency meeting on the 1st of February to address reactions, concerns, and fears arising from the recent release of Ghana's official citizenship requirement for the historically unique group. This release represents a significant departure from prior public rhetoric and, if not promptly reviewed, redrafted, and republished, risks a serious and potentially permanent rupture in the heretofore mutually beneficial relationship between continental Ghanaians and the historically unique group. This resolution is issued jointly by the undersigned stakeholders and organizations, including the coalition and collaborating parties who's contributed substantially to its drafting and substance, including DOOR, Repatriate to Ghana, and Bibi Tumi, together with all additional endorsers and signatories. And so policy framing was discussed here, requirements at issue, moral anchor, and then it was a secondary page. So this went out. Also, there was a event that as I mentioned before, with this group where they actually shared, their thoughts about, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. There was an event where this was all discussed. It was 4 hours and 25 minutes. It was virtual and in person. And many of these groups, as you see here, were there. And a lot was discussed. If you want to see it, maybe I can share a link. If you guys want to watch it, it's 4 hours and 25 minutes. I could not get through all of it because some of the sound was difficult for me with the microphones in room. But basically, you got the idea of what was discussed, right? What you saw in that letter is what was discussed. So let me fast forward you to Sunday evening. So much of this was happening on Saturday. Was it Saturday or was it all Sunday morning? I can't even tell you right now. This weekend was full of discussions and conversations and uproar and outrage and all the different words and phrases that you could use to describe how upset certain groups of people were. I will tell you, I saw a lot of messages in the group chats that I'm in. Many times I thought to myself, some of this is productive and I think helpful, others of which I felt not so much. Much of what I saw was blame, anger, finger pointing, I think unsubstantiated claims. There was a lot. I can tell you that, I mean, and I understand people were upset, but some of the things I saw was just like, wow. I mean, the defamatory nature of some of the statements that I saw. And then in other cases, I saw some very, very productive conversations and discussions around things that should have been taken into consideration, which I appreciated wholeheartedly, because I do think it's important to really talk through why people have challenges, right? So I can't speculate as to why, but on Sunday, we then all received other messages that there were some changes, and let me tell you what those changes were. So let me find the document that I want to share. Okay, here we go. So here is this document that was shared Sunday, the 1st of February, 2026. States: temporary suspension of Ghanaian citizenship application process for historical diasporans. The Ministry of Interior and Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, DAOOP, wish to inform the general public that the current application process for Ghanaian citizenship by historical diasporans has been temporarily suspended. This pause is part of a joint institutional effort to further streamline and enhance the overall experience, ensuring that the process becomes even more accessible. There you go, very important word there. Efficient and user-friendly for our brothers and sisters across the diaspora. Both institutions remain fully committed to welcoming members of the global African family home and are working collaboratively to introduce refinements that will make future applications smoother and more seamless. Revised timelines and updated guidelines will be communicated in due course through official channels. We appreciate the continued interest, enthusiasm, and cooperation of all prospective applicants and look forward to resuming the process shortly. Signed by the Ministry of Interior, Diaspora Affairs Office of the President. So there were some key phrases in there that I thought were really interesting. Ensuring that the process becomes more accessible, probably by price, and maybe no longer that Ghana DNA ancestry, and then efficient and user-friendly. So when I saw those phrases, I thought to myself, it seems as though maybe some of the letters and the communications coming out of these groups who were submitting names actually may have gotten through, and they decided to put a pause on it and make some adjustments and changes. So there's some questions. Let me get to some of the questions and comments so that people can have their voices heard. So I think this is good girl, I guess that's how it's pronounced. Where does this leave people with passport, with visa, headed in with Ghanaian host? Well, it's on pause. The thing that I would say though is this. To be clear, the idea of this process is really meant, I think originally, to be for people in country who are already living in country, right? To try to give it to those living in country. So I think a lot of challenges you find with this is that when these citizenship processes come up, like last time, many people are just traveling to Ghana just for the citizenship, but haven't really done anything in the country, added to the country. And that's, I think, one of the things that they were probably trying to, stop, right? They were trying, I think, to make that a process that did not happen like this time as it did last time. Because like I said, what you had last time is you had people who never stepped foot on the continent, sending documentation to someone else. That person is filling out that document for them and dropping it off for them, getting the right dates, and then they're flying out, getting their citizenship, flying back to America, and there's no way to prove that they have really, or that they have any really close ties or any real plan to further advance the mission of Pan-Africanism and the growth of the country. And I think that that's one of the reasons, I would venture to guess, is why they had such a short timeline, because you literally have this month, right? And you had 5 days to actually turn in the paperwork, and then the ceremony was going to be on the 5th of next month. So yeah, I think the original statements were saying it may have only given a path to those of Ghanaian citizenship. That was the original statements. You're right, Lamarck, and said that they need to clarify strong ties. I will say this: many times, citizenship requirements, which, by the way, the strong ties is something that is part of Ghana's. There's some other citizenship requirements, the general citizenship requirements, and they have something to that effect. Many other countries, including the United States, have things like that for visa considerations, but it's the other way around, because so many people overstay their visas in America. America makes sure that you have strong ties to your home country so that they know you'll go back to your home country and you won't overstay your visa in America. So a different process, but similar ideology. With Ghana, they're like, we know you want to come here, but what are you going to do to build our country? The United States is like, we know you want to come here, but what are you going to do to make sure you go back home, right? So I think every country has the right to decide to be vague in certain types of language like that, to ensure that that they have the ability to make their own distinctions on who can come in and who cannot. You know, if we're gonna draw these artificial borders around countries and we're gonna name these countries, I guess if they have the ability to do that, I don't know if I have an issue with that, if I'm being honest with you, for that to be that big. I know that's a challenge for many people, but I don't know if I have an issue with that. And maybe that's because I have dual citizenship in another country. So maybe I'm privileged to feel that way. But I do believe that is the case, and that's fine. Would me owning a home in Ghana and having the proper paperwork, such as land title and indenture in my name, be considered strong ties to Ghana? Without working for the Office of Diaspora Affairs, I am pretty sure that is a yes, because you've already bought land. That means you've already transacted in country and you've already put ties in the ground. Now, unfortunately for you, if you're not Ghanaian, I don't know if you can change from leasehold to, I don't know if you can change from 50 years to 100 years on your lease. That's something you'd have to check. I'm not 100% sure. Is there a website? There is a website, but I don't know how much of this was on there, and most of this is probably going to be gone. The only thing that's going to be there now is going to be the temporary suspension, I would imagine. But there is a Office of Diaspora Affairs website for Ghana. I know that for sure because I was just there over the weekend. So if you guys want, I can pull that website up. But it's just Office of Diaspora Affairs Ghana. What's the name of the website? diasporaaffairs.gov.gh is the website. They also have an Instagram page. The Instagram page is diasporaaffairs.ghana. You guys want to see that? If you guys want to see it, I can share it with you guys. Since it came up, why not, right? While we're here, we might as well share. Oh, I almost left the studio. Okay, so to answer this question, is there a website? Let me really quickly answer that question for you. So let me show you the website. Okay. You guys are able to see this, the Diaspora Affairs. This is the official website of diasporaaffairs.gov.gh. Again, oh, no bueno. So again, here it is, the website. And as I mentioned, it's going to be hard to find the specifics around this program. I would imagine most of that is going to come through from the Instagram page because, you know, of course, a lot of these websites take a little while to update. So, The program, I'm not really sure, is in here. Let's see if it was under news and events. Ooh, the website's not working. That's not good. But anyway, let's go to the Instagram page. Okay, so on the Instagram page, here's where you can see the official updates. So if you want to know any official updates, obviously I'm following this page because why wouldn't I be? So the Instagram updates are here, right? So, and if you can't find them here, I would say, hey, this might be dangerous, sharing my screen to see what my searches were on Instagram. Let me remove that really quickly and then do a search. Okay, so here is KOD's page. I would definitely follow KOD as well because he is the person, he's the director of the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, right? And so he made the announcement. He was the one who I played earlier. He made the announcement publicly. And then, of course, he also updated us here with the citizenship had been suspended. So he posted this yesterday, as I mentioned. So if you need any updates and want to follow along with what's going on, you can just go to KOD's Instagram page. So again, it's just simply _KOD is his Instagram page. So you can go there to follow along with any updates if you want to know what's up. And as you can see, myself along with 45 other people that I know follow his page because he's very influential and he's the guy you want to be paying attention to. So now let's get to some of the other questions, comments, and thoughts. So I think is it Vienna Styles says, I think that freedmen and Black Americans should be exempt, I guess, from different rules and regulations, I'm guessing. For people like me who live here, who has what the residency, attended church here, volunteer here, I guess you're asking, does that mean you have strong ties? I think you'd have to be able to prove that. And I think through those things, it's probably that, but it's hard to say because again, it's purposely ambiguous. And so they would have to make that determination. I can't tell you if that is the case for sure, and what that means. Oh, here's an important point that I think is important to keep in mind. And Ivy and I spoke about this, I think last Monday, as a matter of fact. So Lamarck makes a good point. You know that the U.S. has been considering ending U.S. citizens having dual citizenship. I hope the U.S. isn't putting pressure on Ghana to push this. I don't know if they are. I doubt it. I think it was probably the backlash. But to that point, my initial thought process was it's unlikely. And here's why. I don't know how many have dual citizenship in other countries. Many countries have citizenship by investment in those countries. And Congress people in America are very wealthy. Many of them are very wealthy. And many of them have tax havens outside of the United States in order to maintain their wealth. And so I would imagine many of them have citizenship in other places. That is not something they have to disclose currently. It's not something they have to disclose currently. If they were to do this, that'd be something they have to disclose. And it'd be something they would have to give up within 1 year. If they do not give it up, they then automatically forfeit U.S. citizenship, according to the bill that was being discussed. So I don't know. That bill was brought forth by a couple of members of Congress. I don't know if that would pass, especially those who probably have dual citizenship with Israel, for example, where there are strong ties between the United States and a country like Israel. And I think a lot of Congress people have very close ties to a country like that, and many of them likely have dual citizenship. So it'd be tough to see that actually come to fruition. I hope it doesn't, because I was discussing this with my own mother, and we were both like, well, we'd have to give up our Sierra Leone citizenship, right? And if that was the case, we would have to, because unfortunately, as it stands today, the American citizenship does have more benefits than having a citizenship from any country I've seen so far on the continent of Africa for the things that I want to do and the places I need to travel for work and otherwise. Because you guys know I do have a day job and I travel to Europe frequently, travel to a number of different places, and I would not be able to do so if I did not. In fact, I wouldn't, if I had to give up my US citizenship, it'd be even difficult to get a visa to come to the US, right? So it just doesn't, it would not make sense for me to do that. I have to give up my citizenship in Sierra Leone. If that was the case, we'll see if that happens. I don't know if that's going to happen. Let's hope it does not. Good Girl says, understood. Mature diasporans are on what's called Social Security based on your income. They only allow you a month out of the country before they cut off your Social Security. That's a good point. Yes, that is a good point. So just, I think there's a lot of people responding to things that I said 10, 15 minutes ago. So I don't know what they all mean. So Jada says, might be going to Sierra Leone in May, Joe. I pulled up your website and looked at the apartment that you had listed. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's definitely talk about it. We'll talk about that offline, Jada. You and I can have a conversation for sure. What else do we have? What is everybody saying? So Johnny, you're always in here causing trouble. I'm gonna have to put you on timeout, sir. You gotta go. You gotta go. We can't do that. Yeah. So, and what is this? WBG Sports and Fitness says, lots of U.S. millionaires and billionaires also have multiple citizenships. Not even just the Congress people, right? So. Very influential people would be very influential in making sure that I don't think that would happen. So I don't think we have to worry about that too much. Many people have, not even just Congress people, but many people have tax havens and citizenship in other places. Citizenship by investment is not something new, even though the United States offers it now. They offered it in the 90s previously. The UK used to offer it under Tony Blair. I've mentioned this previously. Many countries have offered a citizenship by investment. And currently, Sierra Leone has a citizenship by investment. And many countries offer citizenship by investment. Sierra Leone, Egypt has a citizenship by investment program. Mauritius has a citizenship by investment program in Africa as well. Botswana is talking about doing a citizenship by investment, and there are other countries around the world that do it. So, yes. I think, Kenya, I think you and I need to talk offline, but I would probably not post what you just put in the comments publicly, and I'll tell you why. But you and I can talk offline about that. Mrs. Hope Talk says, I have to go back home. My mother needs me. Be back one day. I'll miss my volunteer work. Okay, so you're leaving the country of Ghana. Got it. Is there an African Social Security program replacement? Well, every country has their own programs, and every country is different. But Social Security programs are, some of the programs that the United States has, others have adopted. I think, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but FDR, former US president, was a pioneer in a lot of this. And I've heard that some other countries have similar programs, but mostly that's like in Western countries or the global North. I haven't heard too many places in the global South, as they say, or across the continent of Africa in particular, that do offer Social Security. There are some sort of equivalents, but everyone's a little bit different. All right. Whew. Okay. All right. So, so what Kenya says is, my father receives his Social Security benefits in Sierra Leone and barely visits the U.S. anymore. So she seems to be under the impression that you can leave the country, and they know. Maybe I shouldn't have put that on screen. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. She says that they know his location. It's not a problem. So, okay. So, any other questions, comments, thoughts on this? I mean, it was a very, very You know what? I've been neglecting the Instagram folks. So my bad. Those of you guys who are watching on Instagram and sending your comments. I'm on SSI, but want to move to another country, but don't want to give up my SSI. Will I be able to live in another country? Will provide me income other than being disabled? I think you definitely need to check the rules and regulations of SSI. You want to defer directly to that. And if you have a person that you've been dealing with who is like your person that you talk to for your SSI benefits, just ask them, right? And maybe you go into the office and just ask any very specific questions around leaving for extended periods of time and what that looks like. Tamosa is saying, shout out to Tamosa. She said, there are many countries that are allowed for the SS payments. So Social Security payments are allowed. Many countries do allow them. You can leave and go to those countries and they're allowed for it. So according to her. Now, one thing I do know is a lot of times they do not make those payments to foreign bank accounts. That I do know. So from what I understand, those payments do usually have to go to a US bank account. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but just from my previous conversations with, my late father, if I remember correctly, one of his challenges was he was having trouble accessing his U.S. bank account, and it was giving him some challenges. And so he wasn't able to connect it to an international bank account. That was something that came up at that time. I don't know if that has changed. Any other comments on Instagram? Let me see. I think I addressed most of the comments and questions on Instagram. I just didn't want to forget you folks that are on IG. I always do that. So, it has to be open in a separate tab. It's a whole thing. So sometimes I miss that tab. Okay, so according to is Lyreven? I know I messed that up and I'm sorry. SSI cannot leave the country after 30 days. Your benefits will stop. SSA, you can go anywhere you want, no problem, but get information before you leave. And so Kenya is saying that's legit. From what I know, it does have to be a U.S. bank account. So from my experience, it needs to be a U.S. bank account for Social Security benefits. They do need to be paid out to a U.S. bank account. So that's her knowledge and understanding as well. So, and I do know many folks who are planning to make the move are at retirement age, and they are planning to make the move to the continent. So that's why I'm spending that much time on it. I know many of those who are watching are of a younger audience, but there are also many who watch, 15%, as a matter of fact, who engage with the content on Authentic African are 55 and above, according to the stats and the metrics. So I always want to make sure that I address your questions as they come in. So, all right. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? One point that Good Girl mentioned is get a Direct Express card for direct deposit on the card, onto card. That's what she's saying. If you know, I guess you can check it out online. I don't know anything about Direct Express. I would not give any advice based on that, but that's something that she gave as advice. So do your research, check it out. Here's someone who says, so Carrie Marshall Felton says, I'm a social worker and SSI workers always ask my clients if they left the country for 30 days. So they may ask that question. I wonder why they asked that question. That'll be good to know. Then Good Girl says, well, I guess I'll be an immigrant in Africa. Post places to stay in Accra and Sierra Leone. Okay, so we are almost at time. Any other questions, comments, and thoughts from those of you watching? I thought it was important to discuss this today. I originally had a plan to do an interview with someone who I've been working on planning this interview for, I don't know how many weeks. But I just thought it was really important, for this audience. I don't know how many of you had seen what's been going on And because I go back and forth to Ghana a lot, and the group chats that I am in, I see a lot. And so I try to filter through it and share what I can to the audience here, because man, there was a lot going on this weekend. I woke up to a barrage of messages because, I'm 5 hours behind GMT, the time zone Ghana is in. So when I woke up, just a barrage of messages coming in on Sunday. Yeah, and Sunday was an equally strange day. That's a conversation for another time that we will not share here. But okay, if there are any other questions, comments, thoughts, please share them now. I just want to check to see if there's anything on Instagram right now. I don't see any new questions. People are just joining. But those of you who just joined, go back and watch from the beginning where we kind of talk through everything that happened in the last 5 days, because it has been a whirlwind. So, of course, as always, because our goal is to help people do one of three things, right? Visit, move, invest on the continent. And so, of course, we talk about citizenship. We talk about the different citizenship programs. So I will, as I get information, as it's shared with me, I will share it publicly. Only stuff that I can verify and that I'm allowed to share publicly. So there are going to be some instances where I have knowledge that is not public knowledge that I cannot share with people. So like the fact that I had been previously made aware that March could be a potential date for a citizenship program. The reason why I never said that online publicly before is because I was told that it's not set in stone, and I was told that in confidence, right? But now that it was public, it's public, so I can say it. So there are going to be things sometimes that I cannot share publicly. But anything that I can share publicly, as I hear and as I know about it, I will tell you. So good question. Spoken by Royalty says, so this is a positive thing, right? Or is the suspension a closing door? I think the suspension is just a closing of the door for now. I think it's a suspension. I don't think it's a permanent suspension, right? It did say temporarily suspended. I think they just want to rewrite the rules and see where that goes. By the way, one thing I meant to mention in the beginning, yesterday marks exactly 5 years since I started my YouTube journey. Can you guys believe that? 5 years on YouTube. I started YouTube as a 36 going on 37-year-old. That's not generally the age demographic of people who start YouTube channels. I would imagine most of the people who start YouTube channels are much younger. And I have started a YouTube channel at 25. That content's a little ridiculous. If you ever want to see that, you can go find that if you want. You want to go down a rabbit hole of what Joe was like at 25 with locks and a goatee? Go for it. But with this channel, this actually marks 5 years, which is crazy to think. I got the message yesterday from YouTube saying congratulations on 5 years, and I could not believe it's been 5 years since I started this YouTube channel. And many of you, Manelik is here. I think I remember you were one of the very early folks that were on when I was living in Ghana, and I first got to Ghana and I started this YouTube channel. Starting with my, tour of the Cape Coast Castle and 10 things you should know before coming to Ghana. I did with my my good friend Kels, doing my interview with Vanessa Canby, and her telling me that I should go live every week. And so since May of 2021, I've gone live every single week except for 5 weeks. Every single week I've gone live, maybe 5, less than 10 of those weeks that I missed. And I have the energy to keep going because of all the engagement that you guys have and provide, all of the commentary, the insight, the information. I learned so much from all of you. So I want to thank you all for the support and the help, because this is not easy. I'll tell you guys that. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have started YouTube channels since I've done this. And it is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to do. You guys have no idea what happens in the background. Speaking of backgrounds, as you notice, I've changed my background now. I've rearranged my entire room in this tiny apartment that I've been on the lease for 21 years. Yes, I've been on a lease for 21 years. I've been an adult longer than 21 years, if you can believe it. So I moved into this apartment 21 years ago in 2004, almost 22 years. June will make 22 years. And this was the room that I was in. And so I've rearranged it a little bit so that I have more space when I go live, and so that, there's more depth, because previously I would have this background behind me, and I just think it wasn't useful. So I have a standing desk. I'm also standing up. Keeps me energetic. I can't fall asleep on a live stream like I used to back in the day. Okay, so a couple of things I see in the comments. I want to get to them. So let's get to those questions and comments. Lenora saying thank you, of course, always. And thank you for the advice you had given me previously about taking it easy and focus on one thing at a time. I took your advice. Trust me, I did. Lamarck says, thanks, Joe. You keep us updated on the news from the continent as it may apply to the diaspora. Appreciate you. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Good Girl says, I thank you. Many wish to escape. They are paid less, hit with tickets, pay higher taxes for living in a black hood, arrested at a 25% higher rate, had to get out, do this again. Okay. Made in Africa, aka Manalik, says, all of this has had me discouraged. I can't lie. It's always been a dream and goal to become a citizen in the near future. It doesn't mean that it's done though. You know, Muhammad was president before, and he had given out citizenship to the diaspora. So even though, you know, the year of return was a huge success, and I do think the legacy of the previous administration after Muhammad left office the first time under Akufo-Addo is going to be known more for the year of return and beyond the return than anything economically, etc. Muhammad did do something like this earlier. So it was not just first in the previous administration. Muhammad's previous administration did do a citizenship program. Wasn't as big as what was done under Akufo-Addo and his administration, but there has been other programs. So I don't think that this is going to be shut down forever. I just think it's changed. Lamarck is saying, what's the other channel named? The other channel is called Joe Hatagwa. That is the other channel. The live streams I do here, I do go live on the Joe Hatagwa channel as well. But if you just click on the videos and you want to watch some videos, when I was into that whole home-based business stuff, I kept all those videos up there because it's like a documentary of my life at a certain point in time in my life, and I have no other footage from that time except when I was doing these YouTube videos. I have pictures. Most of the pictures are at like clubs and stuff because, you know, I was standing on couches drinking alcohol out of bottles. I was a different person back then. So I have pictures and videos of that, but that is not who I was in my entirety. There was another part of me who was ambitious, young, and dealing with the financial crisis and trying to find my way out and working on personal development. And that's what you find in that old channel from 15 years ago, well, 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. So you can see those videos. I went down a rabbit hole the other day and I watched like 6 or 7 videos with some friends of mine. And they've all known me since I was like 20, and they remember that time in my life. And it was kind of funny to like go back to that and watch it. But yeah, that's the old channel. If you're bored one day and you want to see what I was like at 25, because I'll be 42 in a couple of months, you can watch that and be entertained. Made in Africa says, congrats on your 5-year anniversary. Wishing you many more seasons of success and prosperity. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here all this time. I think you're one of the people who've been here the longest, at least one of the more vocal people the longest, because I know some of you watch and don't comment, and I can't see that you've been here. So, but I appreciate all of you that's been here. And shout out to Tamosa too, because she was here for a while. And shout out to Kenya and Masa, who have been, holding me down from a very long time. You guys have been following the channel, and then we became friends and met in Ghana. And, by the way, I interviewed them recently. Tamosa's interview is coming out very shortly too. I did an interview with her as well. Manelik too, I want to shout you out. I want to shout out Manelik because for a significant amount of time, he was watching every single live stream and doing timestamps so that if you wanted to watch the replay of that live stream, you didn't have to just kind of guess what was coming next. You could skip to parts that were pertinent to you. So I want to thank you for doing that. He just volunteered to do that. And so that was really, really helpful at the time when that was happening. So I do want to shout him out. WBG Sports and Fitness says, you've done a tremendous job doing so. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is not easy. I always say that. And it's so hard to express how difficult it is to run a YouTube channel. You have to be a designer because you have to learn how to do thumbnails. You have to be a search engine optimization strategist because you have to title properly and you have to do the description properly. You need to become a producer. You need to produce live streams. You need to produce film shoots. You sometimes need to be a videographer because you need to video yourself. Because for a while, that's how I was doing it. I was setting the camera up, putting the front-facing camera on and doing interviews that way. You got to become a sound technician. You have to become an editor. I mean, these are all skills that are required to start a YouTube channel. And that is why so many people don't do it. And that's why you have such a challenge with people growing YouTube channels, because it does require many different skills and a lot of time. I mean, I work a full-time job, as I mentioned. It's probably like an 80 hour a week job. And I have to perform in that role. And separately from that, I'm also doing this. So that means if I'm doing some filming in Ghana, I'm shooting all morning from whatever time I wake up till, 1 or 2 p.m. And then my day for work starts from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. when I'm in Ghana. When I'm here in the States, my day starts as early as 5 a.m. because I need to have phone calls with lawyers and project managers and caretakers and all kinds of different people in Sierra Leone and different people in Ghana too, business partners in Ghana, like I did today, recording a course content today. And then I start my work day at around 10 a.m. And then it goes until, right? So right now I've taken an hour out of that work day, an hour and 7 minutes out of my work day. I will be back online for work for another 3 hours before I go back to authentic African work again. So it is a lot. But I do this because I care and I'm passionate about this, as you guys can tell. You hear it in my voice. Anyway, moving on. So Lamak says, congratulations, thank you. I think everybody's talking to each other. I'll be a guest on your show soon. Sounds good. Good girl. I would love to hear your story. Good 86. I think you want to start the video from the beginning, so that way you can get the full story, because we went through it in length throughout the live stream. So I recommend going back to the beginning and checking out the beginning. So many thoughts about what prompted the secession. Well, yeah, definitely watch from the beginning, and then definitely do in the replay. Put your comments in the replay. Those of you guys who are watching the replay too, please comment, give your thoughts. I will reply to your comments there. These new changes don't change the right of abode, right? So we shouldn't be discouraged. Correct, as far as I know. There was no discussion about right of abode in these comments, in these discussions. So I don't presume it does impact it at all. I would just say to watch closely that website, that Instagram page, specifically the Instagram pages, the Office of Diaspora Affairs Instagram page and KOD's Instagram page, to know for sure, because all of that is going to be very important. Quick question. Can you still invest in the country, and can you apply for citizenship at a later date? You can. You can buy land as a resident of Ghana. That is something that you can do. So Ghanaian citizens do 50-year leases. Non-Ghanaian citizens have 100-year leases. Jada says, we need more live streams about SL Joe, leaving us high and dry. Yes, Jada. Well, the good news is they're coming back. I just had a lengthy discussion. Was it Saturday, Sunday? I don't know. With the team at SLKI, Sierra Leoneans Killing It. We will be bringing that back. Our Inside Sierra Leone series that we were doing on Sundays will be coming back because there's so many people who have so many questions, even about the citizenship program in Sierra Leone, because that's another one that has been left some stuff to be desired. And the Citizenship by Investment Program. I am going to do a live stream on the Sierra Leone Citizenship by Investment Program and the Mauritius Citizenship by Investment Program. That will be coming. So stay tuned about that. There will be some information there that I think you guys are going to find very interesting. Year of Return Initiative, Afuya says, I would say Year of Return Initiative was a great initiative, and it was supposed to be 10 years. But that administration is out of office and the opposite party is in office. So generally, like many other programs that start under one administration, even if the sentiment still remains, it's going to be under new branding, right? It's going to change a little bit. And we have to understand that that's just how it's going to be, right? You have two different political parties, right? Who have differences in a ton of different views around how to govern the country in general. And so I don't know if in any country really, if the opposite party goes into place, if they wanted to take on something that was such a big PR move for someone else to take it on and to keep moving, I think a lot of people would make adjustments and make changes. So understandably, it doesn't mean that the idea isn't still is not still a part of the country's origin, because at the end of the day, Kwame Nkrumah did go to HBCU, did pledge to one of the D9, right? And so, as a start to the country, Kwame Nkrumah and, Martin Luther King was at his inauguration, as I mentioned previously, and he brought a lot of people to Ghana. So there's always going to be that bridge between the West and Ghana, and meaning African diaspora in the West. This is speculation, but Afia is asking, could it be possible that it might be changed to include non-African lineage? I don't know. I can't speculate on that. I don't even want to speculate on that. I doubt it'll include non-African lineage, but who knows? I mean, considering Muhammad speaks a lot about Pan-Africanism, I doubt it would be non-African lineage. I just think it probably could be non-Ghanaian lineage, but I don't envision a world where it'd be non-African lineage, but I could be wrong. But it doesn't seem like Muhammad would be, that doesn't seem like his style, to be honest with you. Now, did non-Africans get citizenship the last time en masse? Yes, 300 or so got citizenship, and a good percentage of that in that second tranche. Some of them were of African citizenship, and many of them were not, right? Or African lineage, many of them were not. Right. And so that was something we discussed at that time, when those 500, mostly African Americans or people of African descent. And then that next batch of 300 or whatever that number was, that group was people of all different descent from around the world. Well done, and congrats on 5 years, Joe. And by the way, Joe is spelled J-O-E. I know that people, because my name is Joannis, I think most people think that my name, Joe, would be spelled J-O. But I do spell it J-O-E, because just like Joseph has an E placed very farther away from the O, Joannis has an E in there as well. It's just further away from the O. So I do spell it J-O-E, just for those who want to write my name in the future. But thank you. Echo from Destination Africa. What's up, bro? It's a long time no see. We should catch up for sure. Yeah, what's up, yeah? YOA is saying, catching up on the live stream, it's actually disappointing how easy it seems to be able to get Ghanaian citizenship. Yeah, that's Ya's thoughts. Afuya says, also, what about African Stream? African Stream no longer exists, unfortunately. I think many of you are familiar with that. African Stream no longer exists. And Ahmed Caballo is with a new organization. Ahmed Caballo is with a new organization. Let me tell you where he is. Because I do think it's important to, first of all, he's grown his platform to 150,000 followers himself. So that's still pretty impressive. He is now with Sovereign Media. That's the name of the platform he is on now. So if you guys remember, Ahmed, he and also Inem Richardson, I think, is doing some reporting for Sovereign Media as well. So if you remember, I used to go live with Inem every week on This Week in Africa. Now I do it with Gloria Ayo, but at that time it was with Inem, and Ahmed was gracious enough to allow me to work with him and his team. But yeah, so this is his page. But if you see this logo now, that's Sovereign Media, and that's where he is now. So he's with Sovereign Media now. And so you'll see a lot of content from Sovereign Media on his page. So, you know, formerly of African Stream, you guys remember this logo here. This business is no longer in existence. As you can see, he mentioned it here, right? And then you can see what happened as to why they had to shut down. And so now you can see he's with Sovereign Media now. So you can check that out if you want more content from Ahmed and friends. Somebody was just backing up the fact that, so this is ML Caesar saying, yeah, citizen 99 years, non-citizen 50 years for the leasehold land. All right, yeah, citizen 50 years, non-citizen 99 years. Yeah, you're right. So Lenora corrected that, right. It's the other way around. It is non-citizen gets 50 years and citizen gets 90 years, yes. Does Ghana allow you to come alone to get citizenship or tours only? I feel like it can't be, that's not a one or the other kind of thing. I think those are two completely different things. Let me just say that first. So yes, you can go on tours through the country. To get citizenship, there is a full process that they normally have in terms of being in the country for 5 years at minimum. Many times it's 10 years. And there's a process you have to go through for citizenship. And I can share that at another time, but there is a process that is different from what we're talking about with the diaspora citizenship that they're offering. This is just for anybody who's lived in Ghana. There is a process, but it's a 5 to sometimes 10-year process from people that I've spoke to. Okay, Ezra Blevy says, hello, Mr. Joe. I'm very proud of you and I enjoy for watch your YouTube channel. Okay, this is in Creole, if you guys don't know. So let me just translate because I'm reading this in real time. Let me translate to English for all of you who are watching. Ezra is saying that they are proud of me, and it's very much of this is probably easy for you guys to read, but I'll just do it anyway. Proud of me and they enjoy watching the YouTube channel. Is saying keeping up the good work. The property that I'm building, they say looks good and shows that I have a vision and that I'm a serious and I have a serious mind for development. Whew, that ain't no easy. Oh. Hey, for translate Creole, no easy. But a lot of that looks like a lot of English. So maybe many of you probably could read that and understood it. So sorry if that felt like you guys could have read that yourselves, but that's basically what is being said here. But I appreciate it. Thank you, Ezra. Yes, for Bill Os no easy. For Bill Os, especially in Salon, no easy, but they try. Small, right? Not so. All right. So, any other questions, comments, thoughts from the audience? We are 18 minutes over time. I do need to get back to my day job. Let me see if people are online right now. You guys gonna get me in trouble. Oh, no one else is there. They were online earlier. Okay. I want to thank you guys all again. You know, I can't say how much it means to me that the audience has stuck with me. Those of you who stuck with me as long as you have. Lenora, I don't know if I shouted you out earlier, but shout out to Lenora too, because, you know, we met in Ghana and in Sierra Leone. You gave me some great advice, things that I should think about. That pop-up advice, game changer. You know, Lenora told me, don't announce when you're coming. Pop up and see what people are doing, because it shows you what they do when you're not around. And man, did I learn a lot when I did the pop-ups. I'll be doing the pop-ups now in Sierra Leone. My new caretaker's wife is like, you just they come, you just they come no more. You know, and she's like, you just show up basically. You never say anything. And I was like, yep. You're not gonna know that I'm here. I'm just gonna be here. You'll see me. But it's been enlightening for sure to do that. And then one of the other pieces of advice that Lenora gave me, which I really do appreciate, and I'll share all with you guys, was that I was trying to do too much at once. I was trying to do authentic American, where I was having products imported from America to Africa. And then I had my e-commerce store that I wanted to restart, but I was still working on this. I was trying to launch merch. And it was just a lot. It was a lot that I was trying to do at one point in time. And I realized she was so right. I got to just do one thing at a time, because if I try to do everything at once, I won't do anything efficiently. And that was such a good piece of advice. I spent a lot of time slowly launching things, even the website, even the merch. You guys have seen me wear some of the merch. I've worn it out, but I'm slowly but surely going to launch it. I'm just testing some different fonts, some things, learning different things about what you can use and what you can't use. So those are all things that had I launched it earlier, I could have been sued and I could have had a lot of issues. So I'm glad that we talked about this. And Lenora now lives in Ghana. Shout out to you, because when we first met all those years ago, she was getting her citizenship in Sierra Leone. She was thinking about buying land at the time, and then subsequently bought land in Ghana and was planning on the move. And she spent time working on it. You know, we've met in 3 countries. We met in Brooklyn, in Accra, and in Freetown. And I know those are cities, not countries, but that's the US, that's Ghana, and that's Sierra Leone. I forgot about that. Yeah. So so happy to see that you made the move. Shout out to you. And shout out to everybody else who watch maybe on television and aren't able to comment, but have been supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you. I spoke to Sally this weekend, and she mentioned her brother and your parents watch. You guys have been watching regularly, so I want to thank you guys for watching. Everybody who watches and who has been watching has been supporting. It is not easy. I know I say it's not easy all the time, but it is really not easy. I cannot express how difficult it is to do this consistently, to keep the same level of energy, to do it when you're sick, when you're tired, when you've had not the best of days. But I'm just so passionate about sharing this information and making sure more of us are helpful in the process of advancing our continent, and more of us are able to participate in the upside as the continent grows and expands in its influence. And I've seen it too often where we're left out of the conversation and we're not involved in our own growth. And so that's part of why I do this, because I'm very passionate about it. From my first trip as an adult to Sierra Leone, right around the age of 25, being on food stamps and unemployment, having to borrow money from my mom, and during the financial crisis, and just knowing that at some point in time in the future, I want to be doing something in Sierra Leone. I want to own land, to where we are now, where I have 5 acres, 4 town lots, and another 2 town lot property. I'm looking at potentially buying some land in Ghana, and then we're looking at Kenya and South Africa next. These are all places that I want to go, and maybe Nigeria as well. We've come a long way from 2010 when I took my first trip to Sierra Leone as an adult. And really that I can remember, because the trip I took prior to that, I was 2 years old. So, the first trip I actually took for real to Sierra Leone was in 2010. And that changed my life forever, right? I had never even considered ever anything on the continent of Africa prior to that. I had lived 20 something years of my life before I made that trip, and that changed everything for me. And then, almost 10 years after that, 12 years after that first trip is when I made the move. And so all of that, I think, it's all coming full circle now. And so it's all part of the fact that I have a passion for this. And, when I left Sierra Leone the first time, I was like, I'm going to do a documentary about my family history, because, my grandfather was a chief, and the previous chief had just passed. And there was a lot of conversation about who was going to be the next chief and all of that. And I was hearing all of this, and it was a very life-changing experience. Anyway, I'm rambling now, but all of that led me to this point today. And that's why I have so much passion, because from that first trip, I knew that the first time I ever heard about legacy came from that trip. The first time I ever thought about my legacy, what is my purpose? What kind of impact am I going to make on this world? All of those things came from that first trip. And so, at 25 years old, I went from just like saying all the time, I'm going to be a billionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to make lots of money for whatever reasons, stupid reasons. You guys don't even want to know what reasons I wanted to make money for, to now thinking about impact more than anything, right? It's not about finances. Obviously, you got to make money, of course, but it's really about the impact I'm going to make. And the impact, and the reason I want to make the impact is not for vanity reasons. It's really because I feel like it was what I was born to do, right? It's like I finally feel like I found my purpose. You guys can probably tell that. And so, it's still building. We're still figuring it out. We're growing as we're going. But yeah, just stay tuned. More to come. Trust me. More to come. I'm traveling to Miami tomorrow, so no live stream on Thursday. We're not doing This Week in Africa this week. It's unlikely, so we'll have to do 2 weeks worth of news next week. So hopefully there aren't any really major stories this week that become stale by next week for next Thursday's live stream. But no live stream this week. No live stream this Sunday for Inside Sierra Leone because it is the Super Bowl and all of that. But the following week, we'll be live with Inside Sierra Leone. We'll be live with Pan-African Perspectives, or This Week in Ghana, actually, will be the following week. Oh, no. The following week will be Pan-African Perspectives again. Yes. And then This Week in Africa will be back next week as well. So Ali is everything says, thank you for your passion and sharing. Thank you. Impact that you are making, you're doing it now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Impact that you are making. Yes. And then Lenora says, impact and imprint you will make. I appreciate that. Thank you. Kevin Briggs says, we have to link up when the next time you're in BK. Well, I'm in BK right now. So shoot me an email. I think you have my email, right? Did I not put my email on the screen? Yeah, I am in BK currently. I usually don't, well, yes, I'm in BK currently. This, if you see this background now, these low ceilings, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn. All right, guys, I got to get back to work. So I want to say thank you very much again for all of the support. My email's here if you want to reach out to me directly, authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. If you want to support the channel financially, if you can, you can become a member on YouTube. I think that there's a fee associated with that. I'm not sure. You tell me. You can also support by tipping via Zelle or Cash App. And if you don't want to support that way, that's fine. Of course, I totally get it. You can also support for free. You can subscribe to the channel. You can tell others to subscribe to the channel. Share this with people you know who are planning to come to the continent, who care about what's happening on the continent. You know, make sure you just press that share button. Share it on WhatsApp, share it in text message. However you can share it, share it. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell and hit all so you're notified every time a different video comes out. This past Sunday, I didn't put out a video because it was a very long and strenuous day. I'll tell you about that another time. It was different, even including all of this stuff. But as of next Sunday and moving forward, every Sunday you will have a video from me about either an interview or a tour of a property or a tour of a business. In the recent weeks, you saw Bintumani Boutique, you've seen Shark Island, and you've seen much more. So more to come moving forward. Nubian Queen Nation says, my new son-in-law is from Haiti. I just sent him your channel. Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, guys, once again for being here. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all on the next live stream. Bye, guys.